For most of human history, cats were not pets. They were omens. In ancient Egypt, they were gods. In medieval Europe, they were suspects. And for thousands of years before any of that, they were simply predators, small, silent, and completely indifferent to human existence. And yet, somehow, out of all the animals that shared the planet with us, cats ended up inside our homes, sleeping on our laptops, knocking things off our shelves for no reason, being filmed approximately 1 billion times per day. But here is the strangest part. Unlike dogs, unlike horses, unlike cattle, humans never really domesticated cats. Cats domesticated themselves, and they may have done it entirely by accident, for reasons that had nothing to do with affection. To understand how this happened, you have to go back roughly 10,000 years to the Fertile Crescent, the region we now call the Middle East. This is where something extraordinary was beginning.
People were staying in one place. They were planting crops, storing grain, building permanent settlements. And that one change, humans stopping their endless wandering, quietly set off a chain of events that would alter the fate of an entire species. Because grain attracts mice, and mice attract cats. The wildcats living near early human settlements were not friendly animals. They were Felis sylvestris libica, the African wildcat, a lean, solitary, deeply territorial predator. Nothing like the soft creature currently asleep on your couch. These animals avoided humans completely. They had no interest in companionship, no instinct for attachment, and no desire to be anywhere near a species that was loud, unpredictable, and smelled like fire. But they were extremely interested in rodents. Early grain stores were essentially an all-you-can-eat buffet for mice and rats. And where the rodents gathered, the wildcats followed. Not because of humans, not because of warmth or shelter or any instinct toward domestication. Simply because the food was there. Now here is where it gets interesting. Most wildcats that approached human settlements would have retreated immediately. The noise, the movement, the unpredictability, it would have been overwhelming for an animal wired for solitude and silence. But in every population, there are outliers. A few individuals born slightly less reactive, slightly less fearful, slightly more capable of tolerating chaos without fleeing, those cats stayed. And those cats ate well. The aggressive ones left or got killed. The panicked ones starved at the edge of the settlement, but the calm ones, the ones that could hold their nerve around humans, had access to an almost unlimited food supply. And over generations, that calm became hereditary. Not because humans selected for it, not because anyone was trying to breed a friendlier cat, simply because the environment rewarded one specific personality type and punished everything else. This is called self-domestication. And cats are arguably the most successful example of it in human history. Early humans almost certainly noticed the arrangement quickly. A cat near the grain store meant fewer rats. Fewer rats meant more food surviving the winter. More food surviving the winter meant fewer people dying. In a world where starvation was a constant threat, a small predator that silently eliminated your biggest pest problem was not something you chased away. You left scraps. You tolerated the presence. Maybe, eventually, you actively encouraged it.
But, and this is critical, humans never fully controlled the process. Dogs were shaped by human hands over thousands of years of intentional breeding. Cats largely shaped themselves. Even today, the domestic cat is genetically almost identical to its wild ancestor. If you placed a domestic cat and an African wildcat side by side and scanned their DNA, the differences would be remarkably small. A few genes related to tameness, a few shifts in stress response. That is essentially all that separates your cat from a wild predator, which explains a lot about cat behavior, honestly. The aloofness is not attitude, it is ancestry. Cats were never prey animals shaped by the need to bond with a herd. They were never pack hunters shaped by the need to cooperate. They are solitary ambush predators who made a calculated, if unconscious, decision that living near humans was profitable. The affection they show is real, but it was never the point.
There is a famous study that placed domestic cats and their owners in a mildly stressful situation and measured their stress hormones. Dogs looked to their owners for reassurance. Cats largely ignored them and managed the stress independently, not because they don't care, because they were never wired to need reassurance in the first place. And yet, something did change. Somewhere in the long, slow process of living alongside humans, cats developed behaviors that have no parallel in the wild. The slow blink, which cat behaviorists now recognize as a genuine signal of trust and affection, does not exist between wild cats. The specific meow that cats use to communicate with humans is not used between adult cats in nature. Cats essentially invented a new language specifically to talk to us. They learned that a certain kind of vocalization, something close to a human infant's cry in frequency, was extraordinarily effective at getting humans to respond. They did not do this consciously. Evolution did it for them. The cats that communicated better with humans got fed. The cats that got fed survived. Over hundreds of generations, the meow became a tool.
In Cyprus, archaeologists discovered a grave dating back 9,500 years. Buried carefully beside a human was a cat. Not eaten, not sacrificed, buried. Placed deliberately in the ground next to a person, in the same orientation as if they were meant to continue some kind of journey together. Think about that. Before the pyramids, before written language, before most of what we call civilization, a human being decided that their cat deserved to be buried with them. That is not pest control anymore. That is something else entirely. Cats arrived at our doorstep uninvited,